Imagine you're entering the NFL draft, but you don't have a position. You don't even know if you'll be playing offense or defense. It's something that literally every single player knows, except one, Julian Edelman. Scouts labeled him too small and not talented enough to play at the NFL level. According to legendary coach Bill Belichick,
he couldn't throw the ball, but he was hard to tackle and he was very competitive and very tough.
After being told he wasn't a good QB, Julian Edelman became the most underrated receiver we've ever seen. From being a 7th round draft pick, to being buried on the depth chart, to almost even being replaced.
Bad practice, I'm cut. Good practice, maybe not cut.
He played receiver, special teams, and defense. So how did he turn into an 11-year NFL great, a potential future Hall of Famer, who won multiple Super Bowls? Well, he attended Woodside High School in California. Edelman joined the football team as a freshman who was not 5 foot tall and hadn't even weighed 100 pounds. They put him at quarterback, and the rest was history. On a visit with the College of San Mateo, he had seen the wall of All-American players and had just one question.
He looks at the wall and just says, "Coach, I want to know where you're going to put my picture."
In his one season as their quarterback, he broke their rushing yard and touchdown record. He may not have been fast, but he was quick and elusive with his feet. One thing was certain, his picture did get on that wall filled with all the other All-Americans. It was because of his success on the field that allowed him to transfer and play for a bigger and better school, Kent State. While he wasn't the best passer in the world, it was his ability to move around and make people miss that attracted eyes to the young Edelman. By his pro day, he looked exceptional.
And then he came to the last drill, and he runs the short shuttle, and the scouts all said, "Yeah, we think something was wrong with our watches. We can't believe he could have run this that fast." And they asked if he would run it again. And Julian, without hesitation, said, "I'll do it."
His raw, natural talent is what caught the eye of Bill Belichick. The night before the draft, he had offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien evaluate him.
Hey, threw these beta tapes on my desk, and he's like, "Hey, watch this kid from Kent State." And he's like, and evaluate him, and don't come back and tell me he's a quarterback. So I wrote up that I thought he could be a safety, obviously a slot receiver, and I thought he could play running back too.
So, with an opportunity to draft a multi-position player, Bill Belichick wasn't going to pass him up when he was still available in round 7.
With the 232nd pick, New England has selected Julian Edelman.
One thing was certain, it wasn't going to be easy. His OC was known to be a tough coach.
Billy O loved yelling at me.
His head coach, Bill Belichick, was ruthless on young players. When he told Julian he was coming to New England, he said, "Hey, this is Coach Belichick. We are going to draft you. We really don't know where you're going to play, but we do know you can play football. The Patriots Director of Scouting Administration will call you tonight to get you situated. Have a good one." Edelman arrived at training camp and was immediately hounded by his starting QB, Tom Brady, a 3-time Super Bowl champion who held Edelman to the highest of standards.
Jules, you'd step up and run the route basically the same exact way that Wes ran the route. And,
Exactly.
And Tommy would be like, "Jules, didn't you just see how Wes did it?" And
Wessie.
you'd say,
Wessie.
"I'm doing it the same way."
And when Brady wasn't bothering him, Belichick was.
I may have muffed or double caught a punt, and Bill comes over, and he's whipping his whistle. "Hey, Jules, come here. Read the punt. You catch the punt with your feet, not your hands."
That was their first interaction, and it led to many more.
Just do it so we know you know what to do, okay? Look, I can't figure you out, Edelman. I'm not that smart, so just show me that you know what to do.
In his rookie year, it was this punt return in the preseason that allowed him to stick around the roster. The young Edelman was eager for more until he sprained his ankle just a week later, forcing him to miss the rest of the preseason. He was unsure if he had proven enough to stay on the Patriots, but when he finally heard the news, he couldn't believe it.
I had the epiphany right when I got drafted. It's going to be me, Wes Welker in the slot, Randy Moss on the outside. That did not happen by any means.
As a rookie, he often showed flashes of talent thanks to his learning ability that he gained from his father.
We got Wes Welker to learn from. You learn Wes, do what Wes does. You do anything that Tom Brady wants you to do. And that's what Jules did.
In his debut game against the Jets, he had 8 receptions and 98 yards. As a punt returner, he helped the Patriots win 59-0 against Tennessee in Week 6. The team made the playoffs at 10-6, winning the AFC East. And with starting slot receiver Wes Welker tearing his ACL, Edelman was about to get his chance.
So when you catch it, try to take the path that the ball's taking you to, away from the defender. That's what should happen.
While the Patriots didn't look good as a team, Edelman was by far their best player, scoring 2 playoff touchdowns in the biggest game of his life. Ultimately, they lost 33-14, and the Patriots were sent home. Going into 2010, Edelman was anticipating to be installed a lot more in the Patriots offense.
No lean, and then bow. Straight up and bow, okay? When you lean, all you're doing is you're giving that safety leverage.
In the offseason, New England focused on revamping the team both offensively and defensively. The tight end position featured second-round pick Rob Gronkowski and fourth-round pick Aaron Hernandez, a hybrid who could play 2 positions, recording roughly 35% of his snaps from the slot, taking away from Edelman's role. And that's not to mention that Wes Welker was still the primary slot guy 80% of the time. His playing time instead relied on special teams. In Week 17 against Miami, he showed the Patriots just how valuable he is. In the first quarter, he was running past guys and bringing his offense all the way down the field on the goal line, and he did this.
From the 6, dodges one man, still on his feet, he's loose!
His sophomore season was extremely underwhelming, and it's simply because he couldn't get on the field. So the moment his team lost in the wild card, he had just focused on one thing, which was building his relationship with Tom Brady. Because Edelman knew if he wasn't, he wouldn't be a Patriot for very long.
I mean, I felt like I was getting cut until probably like my 4th year.
For the second consecutive year, he recorded 0 receiving touchdowns and also hit a career low in receiving yards. But his returning ability was unlike any other. When it was time for the playoffs, he barely lined in at receiver, instead was a DB. After blowing out the Broncos in the divisional round, Edelman's big game was coming in the conference championship. In the final minute, with the Patriots leading by 3, he forced a fumble that went out of bounds. New England was able to win and advance to Edelman's first Super Bowl. Throughout the game, he was unable to touch the field much at all. In fact, he was forced to sit and watch his team lose in the Super Bowl. He was entering 2012, and Wes Welker was going through a contract dispute, deeply hindering the amount of reps he made and giving Edelman a chance to start in Week 2, where he caught 5 balls for 50 yards. In the following few days, he suffered a hand injury, keeping him out for 3 weeks. When Edelman came back, he began building momentum and scoring touchdowns. And then he broke his foot, a season-ending injury on a season his contract was about to expire. He knew that his football career was in jeopardy. However, with Wes Welker leaving the Pats, there was maybe a chance that they would bring him back, but New England had other plans.
We still, at that point, didn't know if he was going to be the answer to Wes Welker leaving.
And I was hurt.
Reports are they've signed wide receiver Danny Amendola to a 5-year, $31 million contract.
Danny Amendola had been around with the Rams, and clearly the Patriots believed that he fit the role better than Edelman could.
I knew Julian was going to be a little bit hurt about it.
So now, Edelman was sitting in free agency, wondering where he'd wind up.
Experiencing that for the first time, I was like, Belichick, the Patriots, I hate everyone here. How are you going to do this to me?
Mentally, he was at the lowest point of his life. But the important people around him didn't want Julian to leave.
It would have been heartbreaking to see him leave because he was just coming into his own.
Finally, he made a decision about his future.
Ultimately decided, I'd sign a 1-year deal with the Patriots.
A 1-year league minimum contract, giving Edelman a chance to prove his worth. It was his 5th NFL season, and he was the only wide receiver who had previous chemistry with Tom Brady. This turned out to be rather important, as Amendola went down with a groin injury in Week 1. Edelman took it as an opportunity to play as hard as he could.
Good time, end zone, ruled a touchdown at the back of the end zone by Julian Edelman.
And after that one,
End zone wide open, touchdown to Edelman.
He was a weapon for this Patriots offense all season long, cracking 1,000 yards for the first time in his career and recording over 100 receptions. On special teams, he broke the record for career punt average with 13 yards per return. It was obvious that this Patriots team was very good, finishing with a 12-4 record as the second seed in the AFC. In round 1, Edelman helped lead them to a victory against the Colts. Their real challenge was coming in round 2 versus the Denver Broncos. Denver's offense was by far the best in the NFL. Earlier in 2013, the Patriots saw just how tough the Broncos were. After falling 24-0, it looked like the Broncos were about to blow them out. But then, Tom Brady led the Patriots to a 24-point comeback, and it was Julian Edelman who helped put them over to win the game. Now that they were facing off at the conference championship, New England was prepared to win again. When their offense got the ball, the score was 3-0. They had a chance to gain the lead, but Brady overthrew Edelman. It was like that all game, which is why they lost 16-26. While their 2013 season was ending, at the very least, Edelman was a star. With the offense adding a new piece in wide receiver Brandon LaFell and Rob Gronkowski returning to full health, they were a top 5 team offensively. Thanks to the connection Edelman and Brady had built, he became their leading wide receiver in yards and receptions.
I know how hard it is for receivers to gain the trust of Tom Brady, and he had a connection.
They finished with the same record they had the year prior as the #1 seed in the AFC. Their matchup was the Baltimore Ravens, who had barely snuck into the playoffs as the 6th seed and beat the Steelers in the wild card.
Let's go!
On the very first Ravens drive,
And it is caught! Steve Smith Sr.
But New England was quick to respond.
Brady, quick throw, left side, and Amendola makes the grab. Comes out of attack, diving to the pylon!
They fought all game long. And this Patriots offense depended on the quarterback, Julian Edelman.
Quick throw for Julian, setting up a screen. He's going to look to throw downfield. Amendola wide open, makes the catch at the 18 in stride. He's gone! Touchdown!
Edelman and the Patriots were going to continue fighting for a win.
I'm telling you, get ready. Your time to come right now.
What a throw from Tom Brady!
QB Joe Flacco and the Ravens had one last opportunity.
Hey, Flacco throws one.
And somehow, Edelman predicted it perfectly. New England was going to the AFC Championship, where they play against Andrew Luck's Colts, who had gone 11-5. Luck himself had thrown 40 touchdowns and 1,700 yards. The Patriots had no problem dismantling them in a huge win. With a final score of 45-7, the Patriots were headed back to a Super Bowl. And this one was finally an opportunity for Edelman to play in the big game. But then this news dropped.
The alleged cheating scandal launching 1,000 saucy headlines. Deflategate. Did they deflate footballs during their championship game to gain a strategic advantage?
Leading up to their matchup against Seattle, all they heard about was the alleged Deflategate, accusing New England of deflating footballs against the Colts in the AFC Championship. They tried their best to ignore these accusations and just focus on the game ahead. But for Edelman, there was animosity towards how the media was praising Seattle.
For 2 weeks, it was the Legion of Boom, the defending Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks, the team that couldn't be beat.
All he could do was go out on the field and win.
Have fun, do your thing, okay? Yep. Love you, bro. Love you too.
A small kid against this defense, yeah, it was going to be brutal.
Catch by Edelman!
The Legion of Boom was known for their bone-crushing hits. Danny Amendola noticed Edelman was in pain.
He was exhausted, tired, like could barely breathe. He was sweating.
He just continued battling through it.
Face was all red.
Good.
In the fourth quarter, it was a tight game with the Patriots trailing by 3.
Gotta believe.
Edelman believed in his team more than anyone.
Caught! Touchdown! Julian Edelman!
All of New England was
That
stunned.
was a big time play, Jules. Championship play.
It was that play that gave them the lead. Still, Seattle had one last opportunity, and you know what happened.
Intercepted! Intercepted to Malcolm Butler! Oh my God!
We did it, John!
Julian Edelman, the 7th-round quarterback, had won his first Super Bowl. He celebrated with Brady.
I love you, man. Did it, bro. I love you.
I love it.
He also celebrated with his head coach.
Year of my life.
You know what? You guys went out there and won it. That's a player's game. I'd do anything. Players game.
His offensive coordinator.
That's why you brought me back. That's why you brought me back.
Edelman's performance went down in the history books forever, and this winning franchise wasn't close to stopping. They drafted their long snapper Joe Cardona, longtime guard Shaq Mason, and defensive end Trey Flowers. New England's plan was to run it back in 2015 with the same roster, minus a few huge losses like defensive tackle Vince Wilfork, cornerback Darrelle Revis, and running back Shane Vereen. But they were still extremely talented.
Julian breaks a tackle. Can't stop him. Cross the 20. David right.
They were able to start their season 10-0. The only problem is that Edelman needed surgery on his left foot, keeping him out for 6 to 8 weeks, causing a big problem for the Patriots. In week 12, they quickly realized how hard it was going to be. Denver's defense was ranked number 1, but surprisingly, the Patriots took a lead early and carried it throughout the game. It was 21-7 in the fourth quarter, and things were about to get very hard. The Patriots fumbled on a punt return, putting Denver in a good field position to score a touchdown, cutting their lead. A drive later, Brandon McManus nailed a field goal, and then Denver got a touchdown. With the score now tied, it was headed into overtime, where they unfortunately faced their very first loss after a CJ Anderson touchdown. In their final 6 games, the record was 2-4 as the first seed in the AFC with the same record as the Broncos. After their wildcard bye week, they arrived in Foxborough to face the Chiefs for a divisional round matchup. Edelman was set to make his long-awaited return for the Patriots.
This is 3rd and 10. Brady on time to Edelman.
The drive ended with a Rob Gronkowski touchdown. Fortunately, they never gave up that lead, and were moving on to the AFC Championship for the 5th straight year. Yet again, they were facing Manning's Broncos. The game opened in Denver's favor.
New England rushes 2, Peyton passes around, he throws, Daniels is there, Daniels with the catch, touchdown Denver!
Hey, we're good. Lot of football. Lot of football.
When Brady got the ball back, a heavy pass rush was coming for him. It was Edelman trying to keep his offense in tune.
Hey, big dogs, you guys are doing good up there.
On the next Broncos drive, Manning threw the pass backwards, resulting in a recovered fumble by New England.
Hey, good field position, let's go. We gotta do something now.
They were able to capitalize, getting into the end zone.
Anyway, Stevie.
But things quickly fell apart for Brady, throwing an interception directly to the Broncos, setting them up for basically a free touchdown. Edelman was still trying to fire his team up.
Let's go!
Though it wasn't enough. By halftime, they were down 17-9.
Hey, we're New England Patriots, let's go!
But Julian and their offense was getting thrown around. With 5 minutes remaining, they were forced to punt the football.
We'll get one more opportunity now.
Thanks to the offensive line, the drive went nowhere, and time was draining off of the clock. By the time they received the ball again, there was just 2 minutes remaining. On 4th and 10, Brady went to Rob Gronkowski, who secured a 40-yard pass. But after 3 plays went nowhere in the goal line, they were now down to possibly their final play of the season. Then, Brady floated it up in the air. This put the score at 18-20, so they needed to convert a 2-point conversion.
Hey, let's go, man. Gotta believe.
New England was unable to go to back-to-back Super Bowls. As he trended into 2016, the Patriots kept getting better. Through free agency, they added receiver Chris Hogan to the offense, and through the draft, acquired left guard Joe Thuney. They seemed poised to make another run, but there was a problem. Because of the whole Deflategate thing, Brady was suspended in the first 4 games. Brady, of course, had been his QB his entire career, who he loved.
22, he's talking to Brady. I might run him over.
So, who was throwing Edelman the football in the first 4 weeks? It was none other than Jimmy G, the 2014 second-round pick at quarterback, who had immediately built a connection with him as his top receiving target in week 1 and 2. But due to a shoulder injury, they had a new quarterback rather quick, with Jacoby Brissett under center. In his only 2 starts, he had 1 win and 1 loss. Finally, it was time for Brady's inevitable return. When he came back, he literally would not lose. The Patriots went 14-2, establishing themselves as the best team in football. Edelman also recorded a career high in receiving yards. As he entered the playoffs, he was again at the top of his game. The divisional and conference championship were each New England blowouts. He had over 100 receiving yards in both of those games, and they were easily going back into another Super Bowl. And this truly was the most insane game he had ever been a part of. After falling behind 28-3 with just 2 minutes remaining in the third quarter, nobody thought they even had a chance. Except,
Gonna be a hell of a story. Let's go, baby. Let's pick this up. We got to.
Over the next quarter, Brady and the Patriots put together the greatest comeback in NFL history, bringing the score all the way down to just 8 points at 28-20, and Edelman made an all-time play.
I caught it.
The Patriots got into the end zone, but none of it mattered if they couldn't complete the 2-point conversion. Would they go down the same feat they had a few years prior against Denver? The Patriots were hoping to put together a winning touchdown drive in overtime.
Let's go, boys. Love you, boys.
On the drive, Edelman came up big, securing a first down.
He's in. Patriots win the Super Bowl. Brady has his 5th. What a comeback.
They had achieved greatness.
Let's go, boys.
Oh my God. I love you, man. I love you.
With the love for Julian pouring in New England, he was extended on a 2-year, $11 million team-friendly contract. But unfortunately, in the 3rd preseason game of the year, he tore his ACL.
Try to make a cut and tear my ACL.
He didn't play another snap for the 2017 Patriots. They made it to the Super Bowl again, but they lost without Edelman. He was more determined than ever to come back in 2018, going through intense rehab in order to get his body back in shape. By the time the season rolled around, he felt ready until this news came
finds out that he is facing a 4-game suspension for violating the league's policy on performance-enhancing drugs.
With the suspension, he decided to make every day of his life hard work and training. In Week 4 against the Miami Dolphins, Edelman was back. Throughout 2018, he struggled at times harshly, but he also found a lot of success. They made the playoffs for their 10th straight year. After flying by the Chargers and barely beating the Chiefs in an overtime game, Julian would get another opportunity at a Super Bowl. In this one, points weren't being scored, so he just reminded the team one thing.
Next play.
But Edelman was making big play after big play. By the end, they won.
Love you, dude. Hell of a game. My little brother.
Yeah, you said you never had a little brother, but if you had one, it'd be Julian Edelman. Guess what? He's the MVP.
He deserves it. That was one of the best games he ever played.
His Super Bowl MVP is the highlight of his impeccable career. He stayed with the Patriots in 2019, but lost against the Tennessee Titans in the wildcard round. Tom Brady, with an expiring contract, left New England and went to the Buccaneers. He brought the legendary Rob Gronkowski with him and won another Super Bowl. Prior to the year, they had tried to recruit Edelman, but his loyalty stuck true to the Patriots. He played as hard as he could in 2020, including one game where he recorded a career high in receiving yards. But his season was cut short.
This isn't gonna be easy either. Now, I've always said, I'm gonna go until the wheels come off. They finally have fallen off. Due to an injury last year, I'll be making my official announcement of my retirement from football.
Do you think he's a Hall of Famer? If you haven't already, check out my Marshawn Lynch documentary by clicking the video on your screen now, and of course, subscribe.